is the year 2005. The treacherous Decepticons have conquered the Autobots' home planet of Cybertron. Cybertrons. Cybertron. Cybertrons. Cybertron. Cybertrons. 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 Cybertrons. Cybertron. Cybertrons. Cybertron.
We now return you to the Children of Primus.
Hey, what's going on? We're all reporting in from parts unknown. Whoa, whoa, whow! It's a full house.
Hey,
Hello.
Full house this evening. How is everyone doing?
What's up, gents?
Better now. I had an update. That's why my headphones weren't working.
I'm full of barbecue, so I'm fighting for my life on my end. If I suddenly pass out, you can blame my family in a complimentary way.
I need more cheesecake, I have to ask.
No, not this time. We did have a strawberry rhubarb pie, though, so.
Rhubarb pie.
Yeah.
That's some good stuff.
My dad would love you. I can't stand rhubarb. My dad loves it.
No, it's not for
Yeah.
everybody.
No, it's not for me.
You're not everybody.
Exactly.
Right.
Mr. Magnus. Whoa. Well,
My apologies, gentlemen. I have to drop pregnancy issues, the wife. So I'll try to come back.
okay.
I think that's
Sorry
about the
about
most
that.
valid reason possible.
Right.
So.
Good to see everybody.
Yeah.
All right.
Good to see you too, but yeah, we'll check in on that.
My bad.
All right. Well,
Well,
welcome
in the
to
chaos of everything, I lost what I had here.
oh dear, another episode of Frenzy Freestyle Sunday. Everyone is in the house with myself, Spin, Deceptikitty, Fear of Courage, Mr. Magnus, Impactor, and Steenenbach Arts, who is
Several people are in fact not in houses, from what I can see.
Prime DYNAMIXX was here at the moment, but has to step away. And let me catch up on the comments. James Coleman in the comments says, "Hey guys, celebrating my birthday tomorrow with SS86 Ratchet, Legacy G1 Gears, and Cybertron Starscream. And my favorite combiner is the Decepticons Evil Voltron Predaking." And
Excellent. Happy
It's a good
birthday,
way of
James.
putting it.
happy
happy
birthday. And the other combiner I like are Devastator, Superion, Menasor, Defensor, Abominus, and Computron.
So most of them.
Yeah, I was going to say, but that's awesome. Definitely the classics.
And Impactor, who's joined us, threw in the comment Legacy Gears is one of the best toys. And
Yeah, sound
nice.
of the summer, apparently.
Yeah.
says I have Combiner Wars Devastator and G2 Menasor.
Oh, there he is. Yeah.
Yep. Toy War Vintage Drew is hiding in the comments. It says happy birthday to James. And don't worry, Impactor. I saw the comment, and you do not have to rip your Menasor in half. And Freakenstein also wishes a happy birthday.
Well, I mean, he's a combiner, so if you rip him in half, you can just put them back together later. So
This is
That's
true.
right.
So, as actually, I'll go around and ask everyone, who is your favorite combiner before we start talking about all the combiners in general?
Devastator, just to make it simple on myself. Devastator. That's just like with the answer you get from any kid. Who's your favorite Transformer? Devastator.
the not so jolly green giant.
Yeah.
Saying Devastator is like saying your favorite Pokemon is Pikachu.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, good way of putting it. Yeah, there it is. We're just gonna watch Mr. Magnus pull out every single one of these guys.
Yep.
There you go. Combiner Wars Devastator. Still the best version money can buy. And well, maybe the Takara one, but like that.
I'm
Well,
going to
the best
argue with you
official
on that
version.
one. The Jim Bow Oversize is my favorite one.
Right. For a moment I forgot about third-party stuff.
And then I also have that one.
Oh yeah, the Encore version. I used to have that.
Oh,
Oh no,
Tonkatron.
that's the
This is
Tonka
the
repaint.
Tonkanator. Yeah, the Tonkanator.
Tonkanator, yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
What a
Autobots.
fascinating idea.
Yeah, and that they're Autobots. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it doesn't quite fit with established lore, but some people are like treating it almost like the version of them before they were Robo-Smashed in the cartoon.
Mm.
Even though they didn't go by different names or have different colors, but you know, in adjacent to the fiction toy lore, it sort of works.
Ooh,
Yeah.
nice.
This is Jin Bao.
Ooh, the size of a small child.
Yeah.
I think my
Or
nephew's
a big
smaller than
cat.
that.
Before I
Yeah,
go,
that's by far my favorite Devastator.
Fear Freakenstein says, got my 1,000 subscribers a few days ago
Nice.
and did an
Congrats
awesome
again.
video for it. Yep, congratulations, and surprised a random kid at Wall with buying him a Transformer. Oh, and surprised a random kid at Wall with buying him a Transformer.
That's a surprise.
That is a surprise. That is very cool. And over to you, Fear. Who is your favorite?
It's funny because I don't have a version of him at all, but my favorite combiner would probably be Bruticus. I just like they're sort of the most unique looking set of them. The only two combiners I actually own, which are also very valuable to me, are Victorion, who was a gift from Jess. That's the fan built combiner from Combiner Wars. And of course the little version of Volcanicus, the Dinobot combiner. Yeah, I've always wanted to get a Bruticus, but like there hasn't quite been the right intersection of There's a good one. Hey, look at that. Which one is that? That's
This is Jim Bao Oversize.
yeah. There you go.
And
I
I've
like
got the
Starscream
core.
next to him.
I got the core Starscream on his shoulder, and he's holding core Megatron in his fist.
Nice.
Oh, perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah, I do specifically like the Generation 2 version of him where he has all the bizarre neon camo on him. That's like the platonic ideal of Generation 2 to me.
And over to Mr. Magnus, who is, which I already know, but for the viewers, who is your favorite combiner?
Should ask the cat. Like Predaking
Everybody who
because there's a
knows me
tiger
knows
in
it's
there.
the Stunticons.
Oh yeah,
Yep. Menasor.
the biggest, baddest highway bad guy of them all.
Yeah, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 third parties, 2 official, and the original. In this case over here, this one whole Detolf is nothing but Stunticons.
Oh. It's
Now
the
I can
kind
get
of
his
shrine
wire
I'd
back
love
on
to
so he
build.
don't fall down. But you do it. You bitch.
Question for Mr. Magnus: do you have the G2 Menasor?
No. I've got as much of them as has been released.
Well then.
Oh yeah, the two new versions. They've only done Dead End and Drag Strip out of the new set.
Let's go over to Impactor, who is your favorite?
Well, hang on. I had one more.
Hold on, one more for Mr. Magnus.
Oh yeah, the Legacy gift set. That's a great looking box.
Yeah.
And
it's like, I'm not done. I have to show you all of them. Oh, yep, and there's the one that Impactor was showing off just in box. So he does have the previous G2 Menasor.
Favorite combiner would have to be Victorion.
Oh yeah, which I just showed off a second ago. Yeah, there we go. And there's the boxed one. Yeah. Yeah, show Mr. Magnus's one because he's got the boxed copy. Yeah. So that was built by fans. It was the same way that Windblade was created. People voted on like all of the stuff to do with it, like the name and the color scheme and weapons and all that stuff. Bludgeon and Tarn.
Mm-hmm. And Freestyle also says 3 prize giveaway this Friday for everyone to live.
I'm sure that's what he means, but it says giveaway this Friday for everybody to live. That sounds threatening.
And Freakenstein says his favorite combiner is Menasor. And everyone else in the comments who is your favorite combiner. And also says I have 2 of them, but like 6 G1 Menasor, but like the 10 third party and KO.
Overlord. That's sitting on a shelf down there somewhere.
Nice. And Stenenbach Arts, who is your favorite combiner?
If it's an official one, it would be the first one I linked, which would be the Armada Preceptor, was this tree mini-cons combined.
Oh, yeah, that was a cool combiner. I'm going to see if I can get a photo of that.
Then if it's a custom-wise, then it's the second one I linked, which I call my Red Team Optimus, that I linked in the chat. Otherwise, if it's one that I'm more attached to, would be a Magnaboss from Beast Wars.
Okay, cool. Let me see if I can open those ones up.
There isn't a good picture on the internet of the entire...
That's my Red Team Optimus. I think you guys shown before. I think the link above that was a picture of Preceptor all combined, referencing a frame of animation where he's knocked down Starscream and he's running off like ha ha.
Yeah. Oh, so that's basically a custom combiner.
Yeah, I happened to notice there was 4 red bots, Blades, Firefly, Firestar, Nova Star, and Ironhide. And then I took the Japanese override from Adventures.
Yeah, so that Armada Preceptor there, that was a really unique combiner team because they changed into a bicycle, a skateboard, and a scooter, which are not like typical Transformers alternate modes to begin with. And then also they were a little combiner that were like this big. Yeah, my cousin had him. He was really
Dupa to mention they were all electronic, so well there is that component there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they wrecked Megatron and Starscream the first time they combined. It's like, damn.
And James Coleman saying Magnaboss from Beast Wars was awesome.
Too bad the Eagle had gold plastic both in Japan and the US though.
Oh yeah, we were selling a copy of that at TFCon, my cousin's copy, and like the Eagle head broke off in transit because of the gold plastic. It was such a tragedy.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I had one of those as a kid too. It was a great combiner team.
Yeah, me too. I had those Beast Force combiners. Those are a very interesting take on combiners.
Yeah, because it was just
Plus,
3
at
bots
least with
instead of 5.
the lore, like they kind of put in the Beast Wars 2, if Lio Jr. was Prowl in the US, was sort of like a, I'm trying to think of like will terms. Compare him to like maybe a prince having like retainers, and that's what the elephant and the eagle were, which were in Japan were Satan and Skywarp. Whereas in over here they were in the US they were Ironhide was the elephant and Silverbolt, not the Fusor, was the eagle. But they were they would help him out. So, I mean, all of them would be conversing. So it would almost be like when Power Rangers are in the mech and they're all kind of talking about what to do, or Voltron, rather than a singular personality.
Yeah, it was always an interesting way of playing a combiner. Instead of it being one brain, it's all everybody stays separate and has their own say.
Freaking Side says, okay, all you bots have an awesome show. Like always, I have to get back to work. I'll watch later till all are one.
Okie dokie, freak.
Thank you for passing through as usual. And again, congratulations on the 1,000 subs. And in a moment, we're going to go through like each of the combiners, their personalities, their specs, and everything, and and our opinions about them.
Can I show off one more little thing real quick?
Oh, certainly.
So y'all remember this?
Yep, the little sound wave.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. My daughter's website is almost going up. She has added to it.
Nice.
Ooh.
So that's just like Soundwave. It's got the little cassettes inside of it that rattle. And she's going to be showing off a coat that she made in honor of the Dinobots in order of King Grimlock that she'll be wearing when she does her streaming. And it's all spiked up. It's got the Dinobot symbol on the back of it. It's pretty wicked. She made it all herself.
Right.
I would like to see.
Whenever she decides to grace us with her presence, I'll let her step up here and y'all get a look at that.
All right.
Ooh. Oh, I'm gonna have Magmatron, the legacy one, supposedly by June 1st, so the day before my birthday. So hopefully I'll have both the original and the new one next stream.
Speaking of weird combiners, 3 dinosaurs that make a guy.
Oh, we don't want to forget Volcanicus, aka Grimlock's Dino Mode, or the Beast as they all call them when they combine Grimlock and all the Dinobots. I'm talking about the Mad Raging Beast.
Yeah.
Like from comics.
Yeah. That was a notorious thing in the fandom for a very long time because of the Beast, which was the first time the Dinobots ever combined, was from a comic released in the early 2000s as a pack-in to one of the DVD releases of the original Transformers cartoon, and it was legendarily bad. Yeah. And I want to take a second to plug a podcast that I sometimes listen to, Our Worlds Are in Danger, which is it's usually about Transformers Armada, but they did an episode where they interviewed the British fan that made that comic. And it's really interesting to listen to because he was like, it's the early 2000s, the fandom was young, there wasn't a lot of media coming out, I was just doing whatever. It's a really interesting interview if you want to learn about the Beast and how it was created.
That's hilarious.
Mm-hmm. All right, so as we talk about combiners, the first one on the list is going through the original series is Devastator.
I used to have the Encore figure of him at one point.
Now, Devastator, his motto is "Thinking and winning do not mix," and we go with the strength and intelligence of each one as we go through. Devastator having the strength of 10, but only having the intelligence of 2.
Yeah. The consensus, at least in my comic club, I think, is that he had the unfortunate tendency to always get the crap kicked out of him pretty easily whenever he showed up in the cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I've
What's
always
to do with that?
I think once in a while, it's like the amount of losses that he's had in flight.
Here she comes. I heard the door shut.
Yeah. It's also one where, like...
So the camera's right here, Nick.
Ooh. Wonderful.
Yeah, turn around, show him the back.
Oh, let me zoom in.
Turn a little more, Nick.
All right.
Nice.
Oh, that's
cool. Sick. That's awesome. Wow. Look at those spikes. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it has claws.
Whoa.
Wow.
Dangerous.
And things are falling
cool.
over here because I moved this light.
Right on.
Yeah, she made that. It's going to be part of her thing.
Yeah, it's amazing custom work.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty.
Very cool. Now, I guess throwing the question to you guys, what is your opinions of Devastator?
Well, Devastator, like, it's always a classic. It's the first combiner, and I think all of the combiners
Bronze, no brains.
Everything has a connection to that. Like, everything trickles down from that original combiner there, because then it goes into like the Scramble City concept, and then from there, duocons and blah 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 blah.
Well, for you younger guys, you had a choice. For like me and Spin, he was the only combiner there was for us. So he does hold a little special place in my heart. Everything, but as soon as I saw the Stunticons, he just kind of got pushed over to the side just a little bit there.
It's really interesting from an engineering perspective when I played around with the original, because on one hand you couldn't scramble his limbs; they all had to be in a specific place. But on the other hand, all of the combiner chunks, like the fist and the chest plate and stuff, they could all be integrated into the individual figures. And you don't see that shown off a lot in like modern representations. Like you could clip the chest plate on one of them as like a pair of wings for flight mode, and one of the arms is like a gun on another guy. So that was a really interesting bit of engineering that they kind of never really did again after that.
The Jinbao one, the arm piece is similar to the G1 one. It actually transformed, and it was a job site generator that they could pull behind them.
Right.
And they're all
that's
boats.
Really clever.
Yeah. The fists fold up inside of it, and it closes up, and it's just like the big industrial construction site generators that you see on job sites, and that's what they were.
That's a wonderful bit of engineering.
Yeah.
See, whenever I give declarative statements about they never did this, or this was the only time they did that, I'm never talking about third party, because I don't know third party. So by all means, if third party has done the thing, please add it in.
Yeah, the ones that came from Combiners Wars, they don't have anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking on the topic of Devastator, and this will be a question that Anthony can maybe answer. I'm trying to remember when Devastator had Prowl as a head, if he was any smarter with Prowl as a head or not.
A little bit.
Big dumb brute.
A little bit, in the sense that he went from having no intelligence to some, but it was very much that Prowl was dumbed down by being a part of the combination. I just read that arc in the comics for my book club, funny enough. And the amusing thing about it was whenever Prowl would come out of the combination, he was all like pumped off of adrenaline instead of being cool and logical, because it was like a bit of a high.
And does anyone know if there's been any third party with Prowl as a head?
as far as we know, like not a proper combining one. I think people have made like a replacement head for some Devastators to look like the version where they combine with Prowl, but no real third-party one has been made. And he replaces Scrapper because Scrapper's dead, so you could hypothetically make a Prowl component for like any Devastator because you just have to make one guy and make him compatible with whichever one you want to make him compatible with.
I'm honestly thinking what you could do, like if you were trying to make a custom of like the Prowl head, you could take the third party. Well, I don't know what type of Devastator it is, but it's one of those big, weird Devastators. And you could just take Hook, try and maybe remove his head off and put it onto Scrapper's body, and try and transform Scrapper's body into Hook's vehicle mode, and then take Hook's good old body and try and mangle it into Prowl. And then maybe you could at least have a good functioning, Combiner Wars / third party, mashup of Prowl being a part of it.
Yeah.
One coming. I said that whenever you said that, it reminded me of it. It has not been released yet. It is on pre-order right now in Bombas.
Really?
But Dreamstar Toys is doing the Prowl-devastator.
Ooh. Finally.
That's something I might have to try and pick up.
Only like a decade too late. This was like 2014 when these issues came out.
Speaking of 2014.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can share this somehow.
Funny, that same arc of the comics with the Prowl-devastator, that's the Jetfire that was in those comics because they were trying to sell him too at the time. So he just looked. So that's what Jetfire looked like. Yep. Oh, what world is that? Oh, he has a custom head or something?
Yeah, I lost his head a very long time ago, so I just replaced it with the G1 comics.
Nice.
Except with the yellow head. The yellow light, I prefer yellow instead of red.
Yeah.
Custom work is always
pretty good from here. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. It's funny because technically, what happens is like Prowl is mind controlled to be a part of Devastator, but then after the mind control plan fails, the Constructicons just change sides and start working with him because Prowl's plate is really cold and merciless in those comics because he's a strategist, and the Constructicons are like, we like you better, so we're just going to stay with you regardless of whatever faction you're a part of. So they're not exactly heroes at this point because they're still, destructive.
They're
like
anti-hero.
But they're sort of working with the Autobots. And even though Prowl's a little bit annoyed at having them follow him around.
You could put this into Toy Story reference with the three little aliens following Mr. Potato Head.
Yeah, basically. It's not a bad frame of reference, honestly.
Okay, so this is where I'm showing my computer ignorance here. If either Anthony or Spin wants to go to bombusbee.net, not .com. It's bombusbee.net. And then when the search bar comes up, just type in Prowl. It'll be or go to Transformers at the top of the page and then type in Prowl. And it's the first two things that come up. But I don't know how to share this. Bombus, BOMBUS BEE.
Prowl.
It's bomb, BOM, bus, BUSB, BEE.net.
Yeah, I got it. I'll just have to pop up the photos in a minute.
The Chinese version of Bumblebee.
Right.
Perfect definition.
It's hung up on verifying that I'm human.
Yeah, this is the store that Freakenstein turned me on to. It's got all these Transformers for so cheap on here.
Yeah, get it while it lasts, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I am human. You can stop verifying that I'm human.
I've had to deal with that so much.
I assure you, I'm a person, damn it.
Well, I mean, Loki asked that question. What if I'm a robot and I don't realize it?
For all they know, maybe we're frenzy for all we know, basically trying to hack into the Pentagon.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can you verify you're human? Can you? Verification successful, finally. Jeez.
My experience of
Prowl.
combiners when I was a kid is like you had to collect all of them. I had two aerial bots, G2 aerial bots, and I had one G2 Constructicon, and that was as close as I got to a full combiner. I felt like it was one of those flagship type of things outside of my family's price range.
That is true, because I mean it wasn't like, say, any regular transformer, but between, I think back then, between say $9 to like 23 or 25. It's like, the main guy, depending which combiner, is 25, and then you've got the additional $8-9 guys to put them together.
For me, the Devastator, it was $14.99 at Kmart, and my mom bought me the one hook, and I made her promise me to buy me one every time we come to that store, and she made sure that we never return to that store as long as those toys were available.
There, I shared the two images.
She got me good.
There we go. So here is the image that we're speaking of.
Yeah, they're just grayscale prototypes right now. You can see Prowl on the left, not in silhouetted, and that's the full Devastator there.
Very cool. Wow.
Yeah, and then the other image is just a close up of the Prowl figure that comes with it. So I'm guessing these are like MT scale, because that's what I think Dreamstar usually does.
Yeah, combined, he'll be 18.5 inches tall.
Yeah, geez.
Wow.
Yeah.
Speaking of 18.5, I've been getting into my Pacific Rim stuff recently. I started getting back into that stuff recently. And
Pacific
so, yeah,
Ooh.
I recently got Chano. And I looked back at some old reviews I used to watch, and I looked at Knifehead, and it turns out that they are a few of the kaiju and some of the Jaegers that are like that tall.
Jeez. Are they like official or like
Official.
Unofficial? Oh wow.
Really, that's cool. Who makes them?
Gypsy and Striker and Knifehead. That's it.
Yeah, what's the company that makes them?
I'm a real big fan
Also,
of Guillermo
I
del
think I
Toro.
created a new Prime.
We thought Rodimus Prime complained about being Prime. Wait till you've seen this.
Okay.
Oh my God.
The most grumpiest Prime on Earth besides Sano.
What Devastator is that? That's just art.
That is just the art Devastator for reference. For
reference. Okay.
Just for reference.
Besides, I think since we got that 4-pack with I know we're getting technically a 4-pack with when we have Ironhide and Prowl for 86, and Ratchet and Brawn are going to be soon. I'm guessing they'll have to give us an 86 Prowl eventually. So maybe when we get 86 Devastator, maybe I could try and make a custom out of all of them.
That'd be
and
a good
make
idea.
that comic book idea happen.
Yeah, like we haven't seen it, but there's been leaked listings that they are going to be doing a new Devastator in Studio 86, and they also cryptically alluded to it on one of the streams, like the designers did. So, not sure how it's going to be delivered. It looks like it's going to be like a bunch of 2-packs in like some of the larger size
I was
classes.
honestly thinking they were going to just do deluxes and Voyagers. You just need Hook and Long Haul to become the legs and the waist, so they're going to be Voyagers, and then we have Scrapper, Mixmaster, Bone Crusher, and Scavenger. They're all going to combine to make the limbs. So it's going to be 2 Voyagers, 2 Deluxes, and 2 Deluxes. So that's going to lead up to maybe the average price of $34 or $35. So they're all going to be priced at Voyager scale.
Yeah. See, Studio Series and Studio Series 86 has 2 things they always try to do. So every figure that comes out has like 2 engineering goals. One is that they want to be accurate to like the G1 scale chart, and the other one is that they want to be as animation accurate as possible. So whatever they're going to whatever they're going to try and make, it's going to try to satisfy those 2 requirements. So it'll be really interesting to see how they pull that off. Like even the Combiner Wars one, they were varying the design from the cartoon a little bit just to make it plausible, like changing some of the vehicle modes and stuff. But no, they're going to try to make a fully animation accurate one. Let's see how they pull that off, because some of these designs were not intended to be interpreted quite as literally as they are, so it's always interesting when I see them try to make them happen in real life.
Yeah, for real.
It's Superion.
Superion. So he is next on the list of combiners. Let me see if I can get his information.
I have takes on Superion and the aerial bots, but I'll wait until everything's all lined up.
Well, I guess the one thing we did just before we leave off of Devastator is, do you, in terms of the different, like between the cartoon comics and everything that you've been through, has there been any focus on the Constructicons' personalities?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, a little bit. There, Brian Ruckley's IDW comics, the later run IDW stuff that I always talk about.
Mm-hmm.
There was a whole like multi-issue arc about them and their team, and that focused a lot on their individual personalities. That's kind of the only time they ever really did so.
Okay.
In fact, it was the first arc of Transformers Galaxies, which was a mini series that was running alongside the main book. Yeah, I don't remember too much about it because it's been a long time since I read it. But like, they tried real hard to do stuff with each one of them individually.
Okay.
I don't know how successful it was, but
Tarn Prime.
Yeah, I remember that Transformer Galaxy series, like the last storyline. They focused on Ultra Magnus, Chrome Dome, and Spinister in that last story was creepy as hell because he would like scrap. He was basically like someone who would steal your kidney and sell it on the black market, but with Transformer parts. So it got pretty crazy towards the end with the different stories in that series.
Yeah. That was a heck of a way to end it.
Mm-hmm. And Tori Warp says, Devastator, devastate all. Yeah. Also says there was some
could devastate all combiners.
In-depth stuff in David and Annihilation books.
Oh yeah. Interesting. I'll check those out. I don't think I read that.
So as we jump over to Superion, his motto is, to live is to fight, to die is to stop, having the strength of also 10, with the intelligence of 3. And appearing in the G1 comic books, but also in the cartoon when essentially the Decepticons decided to fight the Autobots on the ground, so the Autobots retaliated with creating the Aerobots to fight them in the sky. So what do we?
It's the definition of not smart Computron.
That's one way of looking at it, but he was pre-Computron, so he actually existed before Computron did.
Oh, yeah, though if you could bring in all of a sudden Smart Grimlock out of nowhere, maybe he could have been a little bit more brains instead of bronze.
So my takes on this guy are like, everybody knows Silverbolt because he's got the weird lips and he's afraid of flying and he's the team leader. And everybody knows Slingshot because he's got the orange face and is a jerk. Mm-hmm. But like, gun to my head, I could not tell you which ones the other 3 are and what their personalities are supposed to be because they really blend together.
Well, I know Firefly's personality and his being, basically the craziest person. He's the definition of Whirl, basically. Almost, except maybe not Pyro.
Whirl, like the
Air Raid is the one that looks like Skywarp.
This one.
If I'm remembering correctly, I think there was a level you played with them, not as combiners, but as individual bots, as a team of 3 of them out of the 5 in the first High Moon game. Because you had a Seeker-focused Decepticon level, and then for the Autobots, you had the Aerial Bots-focused level. So both bots had airplane, jet levels.
That was cool. Yeah, totally. My my recollection is that this is where they started doing things differently with the combiners. It was like a whole long-term thought-out thing where it can combine with Metroplex, and then the other ones can combine with Tripticon. So Superion, actually, if you bought Silverbolt, it came with like a ramp, and not everyone knew what that was for. But the idea was that you can combine Silverbolt to Metroplex as some kind of like loading bay type of thing, and that ramp was so the mini bots could like roll up and then on top.
Yeah, this entire second series of combiners, like and Metroplex, they were planned Diaclone things that never came out in Diaclone, and they were developed and turned into Transformers. Like we have like concept art and stuff of it. So stuff like them integrating into a base together and being able to combine, that was all like planned out for Diaclone, basically.
Wow, I didn't know that. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well,
it's on the wiki.
And the other thing too, with which slowly people started questioning the leaders of the combiners on whether they're triple changers, but then if they're quadruple changers, because essentially with the toys, the leaders of the Scramble City combiners had 4 modes. So they had their alt mode, their robot mode, their combined mode, and then a 4th mode where it was either a battle station, a repair bay, a cannon, and and I don't recall what the 4th one was, but essentially like that main leader had 4 modes. Whereas like the other one,
like Titan's Return, Sky Shadow, or Overlord, for an instance.
No, I guess with Superion,
this is Combiners Wars Superion with all the upgrades.
Let me go.
Nice.
There we go.
Superior.
With Slingshot included.
Yeah. Yeah, my aerial bots didn't have a helicopter.
I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to spend a lot to get Slingshot when I get my Superion. Also, I think Megatron poisoned the Matrix. And he's about to become Megatronus Prime.
That's a cool Matrix. Which Matrix is that?
Toxitrons.
Okay, cool.
I was super close to paying it before I even knew I was getting an Arthros Prime.
Toywarp says, still didn't understand that one episode where the aerial bots, which was a G1 episode, were torn apart for parts. The orange face guy ended up with a Rolls Royce grill on his chest at the end.
I remember that too, and I don't remember what the heck was up with that either.
Not orange face.
Yeah. Carbomia episode.
Was the one where the guy at Carbomia he was hijacking planes, he was hijacking airplanes, and so the aerial bots went in undercover and they got dismantled. And the prince of the area put him back together, and they couldn't find his chest piece, and so he took the grill off of his Rolls Royce and put it on his chest. And at the end, he was like, "Oh, hey, wait!" When they find out he's the prince, he's like, "Here's the front of your car. We'll find my real chest piece." And he goes, "Oh, didn't I tell you my hobby's rebuilding old junkers?"
Yep.
Like that, and he's like, "Oh, cool. I kind of like it." Wait a minute, did you just call me a junker?
That's awesome.
Cool. Yeah. Torwarp says a population 1,200 plus 10,000 camels.
That's right.
Oh, politically incorrect.
Yep, the things we got away with in the 80s cartoon.
Another random factoid that came to mind. So Superion was one of the combiners that got repainted for Generation 2. And
G2 color scheme, the one that's super expensive.
Yeah, notoriously
and which
Slingshot,
actually came with Slingshot.
Yeah, Slingshot, the orange face guy. In Generation 2, he was solid gold, nearly. And so he's one of the most notorious sufferers of gold plastic syndrome. Like, you cannot get an original, and if you see it in the package, leave it in the package because it's going to crumble in your hands the second you open it.
Very true.
Yeah, not the modern, like they did them again in Combiner Wars, like the G2 version in Combiner Wars. And in fact, when they were doing the slideshow, Hasbro did that officially debuted it. When Slingshot's picture showed up, it said right on the slide, guaranteed to be GPS free. So they knew at this point. But yeah, the original G2 Slingshot, you cannot get one intact. It will crumble to dust the second you touch it.
Wow.
I should check on mine.
Yeah. Oh, do you have one?
Yeah, I do.
Don't do anything with it. Just leave it whatever mode it's in.
Put
leave
that
it
thing
in that
inside the Starburst's vault that's inside Volcano inside. Well, everything basically.
Yeah.
It's my boy.
Yeah.
There's Menasor.
You know, when I was a kid, actually, I think my first Transformer, other than those McDonald's Transformer, was Sinner Twin. And I was too young to know what that whole head popping forward gimmick was all about. So I didn't realize I was a combiner at the time. I just thought it was a cool Transformer.
Yeah. Hard to believe that in the 80s, the height of like Panic and all that, they let a toy come out that was called Sinner Twin. You ever think about that?
Yeah. And I was living with my grandmother at the time. My parents were living with my grandparents, who were really Christian, and I can't believe that I got away with having a toy like that.
Oh, sweet soulless! You're lucky.
Also, meanwhile, I had Spawn toys growing up.
Yeah, right.
And I lived in the Bible Belt.
I was given a real shotgun for my 9th birthday.
You didn't get yours until the ninth birthday. I thought you said 9th grade.
No, 9th birthday.
I thought you guys were born with guns in America.
Oh no, I cleaned them.
Of a sort. But
all right, so
yeah, I got a gun. My brother didn't, because my dad's like, "Your brother's a dumbass."
Oh, poor brother.
My brother's still never gotten a gun.
Which do you guys think would be a better prime? Day vs. Ironhide or G1 Ironhide?
Oh, G1. I mean, he's voiced by Optimus, so
yeah, that hands down. That alone.
Oh goodness, just imagine him sounding like Prime. Everybody would think he copied him.
Yeah, like he just switches to the Optimus Prime voice, and I could really easily picture that.
So
I think that'd also be the death of Transformers, possibly.
Wow. So as we jump over to Menasor, his motto is "Leave no Autobot uncrushed," with a strength of 10 and intelligence of 3. Now, what do we say about Menasor?
Menasor is same thing, Devastator. No brains, more bronze than even brains in general. I bet Devastator could just easily crush him, since he has a little bit more brains than him himself.
But the two of them have had a battle, and Menasor actually cut Devastator in half.
Well, if you just bring in all of a sudden the one where Prowl is involved, maybe Prowl and his Constructicon Legion maybe could take him down. You just need the specific continuity of Devastator, and you can win any fight, basically, at that point.
And actually, just before we get to Menasor, jumping back on the previous ones, and I'm going to throw a question to see if everyone can quickly answer it with their opinion. Going to Devastator, do you think Devastator himself has his own personality, or is he combined of the 6 personalities?
His own personality.
Yeah, that's always been left kind of ambiguous.
I think it was how we saw for the kids show our Transformers Robots in Disguise, for an instance. Everybody had their own personality because, well, they were never meant to be combiners until later on. And, well, with how Bumblebee, Grimlock, Sideswipe, and Strongarm were all formed, and, well, they had their own personalities, you have to be maybe more of the same, like, it's like the same manufacturer, basically. You have to be the same for you to be the same. If you're a mixture of random people, then it might not work out so well.
Right. So yeah, right. They kind of fuse better when they're all more aligned with each other.
Sync.
Yeah, sync.
Mr. Magnus.
And also, I think Drift was a sword as well.
Oh wait, I forgot about Drift.
There was
He's more of the
written out
accessory. We
that
don't need him.
the combiners, when they combined, because there wasn't a set brain, it was all 5 brains. That's why all of them dumb down when they combine, because one brain is not in control. All brains are going together.
Right.
Unless you can
trying
count
to cipher
Computron.
them out. Computron's the same way. Computron can do the million
He
calculations
overthinked
per second,
everything,
but
basically,
he
became
can't.
smart.
Right, he can't act on it. He's got so many things going on at one time that he can't act on it. So that's his downfall.
For a
But with the
favorite
rest
of
of them,
my,
they can't make a decision over the other ones because there is no real set leader.
in my Combiner Wars opinion, with how I've watched a YouTuber's, I forget his name, but he did a Combiner Wars final episode, basically. He did a bunch of episodes. He has, like, almost every Combiner in general. When he did this episode, he involved Computron, and he had the Combiner Wars Predaking in the dark and purple, the dark black and purple color scheme. It was like a big fight where the Decepticons teamed up with them to defeat Dark Predaking. And well, when Combi tried to fact check everything, he couldn't in general because it was so much. Basically, he fried his circuits. So basically, you have to give Computron a bigger threat, basically, for him to kind of lose if you want him to lose in a battle.
Now, I'm gonna counteract Mr. Magnus's comment. But Toy says only in G1 could a car combiner defeat a construction combiner and a military vehicle combiner, and also says why are Wild wider and Dead End backwards, which is reference of his legs, which I know there's many versions. I guess of how people assemble their combiner.
V1 they went on the back, and the reason why they look this way, just like this picture right here, is because in their car modes, the Stunticons are indestructible. They have a force field on them when they're in their vehicle mode, and that's why they stay in vehicle mode on this, because they're actual shields. They're shields. That's increasing his armor value.
Well, that's the in-universe Watsonian explanation. The out-of-universe Doylist explanation is usually that whatever reference material the animation model designers were provided with probably just had them installed backwards, whatever photos of the toy they were working with. Yeah. There's this... yeah, you good? One of my cats acting up. Chris McFeely did this series at one point called The Art of Transformers, where he talked about animation model weirdness, and you can always boil it down to like either whatever the animators were provided with was not transformed correctly, or the references they used were interpreted wrong. Like they're like, oh, they obviously didn't have a view of this or that character from the back, so they made something up.
Right.
So that's what the weirdness usually comes down to. Yeah, like notoriously with Menasor here, his animation model sort of treated it like Motor Master formed the big robot and the cars just kind of clamped on him because they just sort of misinterpreted how the toy worked. And now
that
these
was
days
how you got the
see
cheat
like
code of Menasor when he bought Motor Master for Legacy in general.
Yeah, so now you have the Legacy one replicating this quirk of the animation that was due to them misinterpreting how the toy worked back in the 80s when they were like drawing up his animation model.
That's funny. Yeah.
Also,
that's the way that DX9, which is the third-party masterpiece set, is the same way. We actually had to buy the trailer for Motor Master separately,
yeah,
and you had to have it. You had to have it to combine them, and yeah, it sucked because it was another $700.
Ouch.
Damn.
For me, I honestly like it how when we got like the G2 designs, well, For an instance, we got in the simple Combiner Wars stuff, we had, well, Slingshot and Breakneck as, well, extras, and then, well, Groove was cut out and replaced with Rook, in which I kind of think Rook was a little bit more better than Groove for reasons. And when we got the G2 designs, well, we got everybody. And, well, I just wonder, why didn't they do that in the first place?
Money.
Because they had the perfect mold, it's just they needed, well, to put it together.
Yeah.
And not to mention, if you're trying to complete, like, the Stunticons or, well, Superion in general, you're going to have to pay a hefty price. The only cheap one is Defensor in general if you want Groove as a limb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, well, I think I'll buy it eventually, but I'm definitely trying to get Rook so I can replace, well, Groove. Because conveniently, when Toys R Us was back in Alive, my father got me the Minicon Groove. And so I have, well, my Inferno, the Power of the Primes one that transforms into, well, Inferno's. Ooh!
This is with the DX9 one with the Notorious trailer.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah, that's a very big and Notorious trailer.
Wow. The cost of being cool.
And that's what makes that big
that trailer is the definition of how long my Combiner Wars Menasor is at this point.
This trailer is probably 3 pounds.
Oh boy.
Yeah, holding it out here like this, it's
risky.
Half a gallon or more gallon of milk. You can see my fingertips.
So if you combined white. Like all,
so you're saying you could get in some light exercise with it.
Oh yeah,
Mr. Magnus, you have all the limbs correct. To make, well, Defensor, am I correct?
To make Defensor or to make Menasor?
Menasor, yes. Or is it just?
I have 2 copies of it.
Oh. Well, I'm guessing if you have them all, basically, and you combine them, it's the definition of this book history of, well, the Transformers. Because this thing's like maybe 5 or 6 pounds.
Cool. A visual history of Transformers. That's a cool book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I got that for Easter when I was maybe 10 or 8.
And when these guys combine, that's that big one that I had out earlier.
Yeah. Ooh, nice.
So and how heavy would you agree that one would be?
He's probably close to 12 pounds.
Yeah, that's even heavier that's way more heavier than my book over here.
Just get 2 of them and do curls with them.
Maybe you could transform. Maybe you could transform Menasor's trailer into maybe like what you just said. I think that wouldn't be that hard.
Now, as we skip back to Superion for a quick moment, what do you, in terms of his personality, do you think he has his own, or is it a combination of the 5?
I honestly think it is a combination of the 5 with how he acts, because in each episode that we see him, he gets a different personality almost every time, and even sometimes in the episodes, he'll show a different personality here and there. All of a sudden serious, all of a sudden crazy, all of a sudden, I don't know what to do.
Remind me if this happened in the cartoon, because it happened in the comics, and I'm not sure if they made it up or if they were riffing on a cartoon thing. But there was a point where in IDW they were able to defeat Menasor by getting him to argue with himself. So you had his arms and legs.
Happen.
Yeah. There were speech bubbles coming out of his arms and legs.
I like Mr. Magnus's idea on taking the original. That's the definition of Wreck and Rule Springer when he had his minigun, except Titan size.
Yeah. So yeah, they were able to stop him at one point by getting his another one coming out of his leg, and then he was fighting amongst himself, and then they were able to take him down because of it. So at least in IDW, it is very much just all
like
of them
Unicron
jammed together.
ripping himself apart, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Except, a little bit less gruesome and not actually killing yourself.
Yeah. I asked if that happened in the cartoon too, because that feels like a thing that would happen in the cartoon. I don't remember it, but
yeah,
I know Devastator had that happen to him.
There was one episode
Oh
where
my
they.
goodness, that's chromatic.
That is
Yeah,
shiny.
this is the transform, the TFM.
Wow.
If the sun hits it just right, it will blind you.
Yeah.
Oh, if you put that in the sun, that thing's gonna either cook or blind you, basically.
Yeah.
Mr. Magnus don't have no sun coming in that room. He makes a point to have that.
No.
He's like, that is his literal man cave.
You don't want any of that white plastic getting yellowed. The only character in my collection that appears as to be yellowed is my 86 Jazz for some odd reason.
Yeah, I found mine's yellowed finally.
My Jetfire has been so much in the sun.
I was mad.
He doesn't even. My Jetfire over here has been in the sun so much. Basically, he doesn't even show yellow on him at all. Like, I have windows here, and I usually stack him up like a little around here with some of the wreckers because I prefer him as a wrecker more than a pacifist. And well, like, it's just crazy. And I'm also wondering, are we going to get a Gamer Edition Jetfire or something of the sorts? Because that's the preferable wrecker, last stand of the wreckers I'd prefer for my Jetfire.
Yeah, I wonder.
Ooh, all the original.
Yeah, the original Bad Boys.
That's a handsome lineup.
Just imagine the Bad Boys song playing right behind them.
Bad boys, what you gonna do?
What you gonna do when they come for you?
Well, going to what you guys said in terms of Menasor's personality and having him fight amongst himself, that is
that's multiple personalities at that point.
Yeah, Menasor does not have his own mind because it is a fight within.
That's the factor that Megatron did not account for.
And
plus, I think with Menasor, because they all hate Motormaster so much, I think that plays into it as well.
Motormaster is a cranky boss, and I would have to agree with all of them not liking him.
That's
exactly Bruticus, on the other hand, was at least maybe a little bit smarter and didn't have the multiple personalities and didn't have any of that stuff happen to him. If anything, he's the only maybe combiner you can not get through, basically, to make him, well, split himself into pieces.
Well, and
that's the same problem with the aerial bots. The aerial bots do not respect Silverbolt.
Right.
Because he is afraid of heights.
Yeah.
That's the definition at that point of Rescue Bots blades.
Well, wasn't also with the Superion or the aerial bots, if not all of them, didn't a good chunk of them have kind of had like respect for the Decepticons? It's like, oh, they can fly like us. Why are we wasting our time with the Autobots? You guys suck.
Right. We're done.
Oh, Jesus. My computer's saying it's got low battery. Let me just fix that. There we go.
They did give a lot of character development to the individual combiners, but not as much to the combined character in the old cartoon. But the voice actor definitely, I felt the voice actors gave the most personality to it, and that's really filled out the characters, in my opinion, is the voices.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me.
I always liked how there was this sort of dynamic where, like, Motormaster really fancied himself Optimus's rival, but Optimus was a little bit like, who are you?
Yeah, right.
This interesting writing angle there. This guy.
So as we go over to Bruticus, his motto is, the road to conquest is paved with Autobot Rex, who also has a strength of 10 and intelligence of 3. But there is a key factor in terms of a question that I asked, with each combiner having their own personality or a combination of personalities. And what would you guys say for Bruticus?
I would say he probably has the most interesting of characters from all the combiners.
Yeah.
And the characters are quite unique, especially Swindle is a very unique character.
Yeah. I think he does have his own personality, even though it's just like another dumb brute, but still. But yeah, this is probably the team with the most individually defined personalities. It helps that they're the most unique visually, too. Like, each one of them has a whole different thing going on. They don't blend together.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the personal take I've had in terms of the individual Combaticons is they're essentially different sides of Starscream in terms of how they act. you've got Swindle. Like Starscream is basically another Swindle. Both Starscream and Onslaught have that ability to lead, but are just a few steps behind the actual leader. The rest of them, they don't get a focus on it as much, but they all have their military backgrounds. The one key thing that is mentioned in the episode when Starscream steals the personalities is he steals 6 personalities, which then gives Bruticus his own mind aside from the other individuals.
Yeah, I always wondered what it was that had gotten them locked up in confinement.
I really would love a storyline on that, on who the Combaticons were before Starscream stole them.
Well, we could say basically they had to have Cybertronian modes of themselves, by my guessing, and with how they look, basically, I'm guessing they had to have looked maybe a little similar. They didn't make any. They didn't talk about how their appearances looked when they were brought back to life. So, for all we know, basically, this could be how they looked, except maybe Cybertronian.
That's a stretch, though, because I guess if you follow the cartoon continuity, Starscream just found some wrecked
you could
military
say that
vehicles.
Energon contained their, just like how Optimus said in AoE, their life, thoughts, and memories, except it's not their spark. So, for all we know, it could have been that.
Toy on the YouTube says Swindle is my boy, and
right on.
Shiwakoba says I'm finally here a tad late, but better late than never. And also says Blastoff did lament that he hoped he didn't run into anyone he knew in this getup, and Onslaught complained about being in these crude carcasses.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
yeah.
right. Well, then again, wait. We might want to put in, these were all broken down vehicles. So that could be a signature point that they did not look like this, just possibly, without seeing Transformers Prime's ideas and War for Cybertron's ideas, they pretty much all look the same, just different color schemes.
Yeah, and like I said before, this is probably one of my favorite Generation 2 decos, where they just gave him camouflage, but ridiculous bright camouflage. Like Onslaught's yellow and purple for some reason. Just it embodies the excess of the 90s perfectly.
And yeah, very much so.
Remember, there was a commercial with him about a very, very cheesy 90s rap.
Don't even get me started on that.
He's one metamorphin Bruticus.
You really had to just sit.
I was the prime target for that audience in 1994. I was PTSD.
Yeah, that just brought it out.
Yeah, so
embrace the cringe. Embrace it.
Don't embrace the cringe. The cringe is unholy.
Just got on as well. Greetings, gang. Are we only discussing about only G1 combiners?
We're talking about cringy thoughts and primes, and what if Ironhide became a prime? We're talking about all the crazy stuff here. Come down to the Children of Prime's loony bin.
Freestyle.
Oh, we are Canadians, so a lot of us probably have loonies kicking around somewhere in one of these bins.
Yeah. Earlier on, before we started focusing on the individual combiners, we were all naming off our favorites. We had a few non-G1s come up, like Amada, Perceptor, Magnaboss from Beast Wars.
Victorion.
Victorion, which is like a G1 plus edition.
G1 DLC.
I'll throw that to Sheba and RJ and anyone else watching afterwards. Who are your favorite combiners? And any more thoughts on terms of Bruticus before we switch over?
Bruticus is a brute, as well. It's in his name, and that if I had to go with any combiner besides Devastator, I'd have to say Bruticus for reasons. And those reasons being, he's a tank.
And if
he's
you
an
are
entire
a
military
fan,
army also with that.
If you are a fan, Zeta Toys is launching a full version set of 5, metallic, Bruticus for $419.
Is it the same set that like?
And he is 22.5 inches tall.
Wow.
See, in another life, is that the same
Talk
set
about
they
selling
released
them
many
cheap.
years ago, or is it like new molds? Because Zeta Toys did a Bruticus back in the day.
I don't know. This one just says metal chest version.
I would need to look because I did not own Zeta Toys Bruticus, but I handled a loaner copy, and I did not really care for it at the time. But it's been a very long time since that one was out. Maybe this is a new mold or something.
Yeah, I wonder.
I don't know. It looks really good.
I remember when they did the Superion, they released 3 different versions, at least 3 different versions at the same time. There was like the matte version, the shiny version. Yeah, at least those 2.
I've seen a bunch of those. I also thought about so I've been looking back at my old PowerPoints that I made of what I want to do for customs, and right now I'm thinking about, since we're getting a new Optimus for Legacy and Soundwave along with that, I was thinking, since I had my Beachcomber, I've been thinking about, since I got gears to replace my Power of the Primes Beachcomber with Legacy, I was talking to myself, what if I paint them all gold?
You're talking about the deluxe Optimus Prime, Legacy Prime, or which Legacy Prime?
I'm talking about the new one that's coming out from the Through the Ground Bridge thing that they were talking about, the space bridge basically reveals. And since we're getting a new Optimus and new Soundwave for that toy line for Legacy, I honestly think I'll take it.
You mean the Studio 686 Prime, or
not the 86 Prime? So I watched Hasbro Pulse's live, and Through the Ground Bridge reveals, there was an Optimus Prime for Legacy.
Oh, the deluxe G1 style one.
Deluxe. Yep. Okay. Cool.
So I was thinking maybe I could paint that thing when I get it, a duplicate of it.
As to RJ Eagle's point, I've never owned this, but I have a distinct memory of, I think last TFCon, Ocular Max's Bruticus, they had a G2 repaint of it, and they had it set up there, and I remember just like trying not to paw at it because it was like it looked so good.
Wow.
Trust me, I did that when I went to my local second in Charles. I'm talking when I was a kid age, and this was when Combiner Wars was a big deal at the time. I went to second in Charles. They had almost every Transformer I've wanted, except now I have a few of them, except they're improved, and they had complete Unicron there. From I forget where toy line it was, but it was like a complete Unicron, and I had it. It's just mine was incomplete, and my parents said you can pick one, and I did not choose Unicron, and I don't get why. I chose instead Brawl since I didn't have it. And I'm talking about like the leader class size Brawl from Transformers 2007.
Yeah. Hunt for Decepticon one, I think. Or no, 2007 is the first movie, right?
The big green guy, the big green one, not the Desert Brawl.
Right.
The green meanie.
And also, heads up, if anybody wants to know the most powerful combiner, just combine Dark Energon with Predaking over here, and you get Dark Predaking, and that's the powerfulest one on Earth.
Yeah. Speaking of Predaking here, when it comes to his animation appearance, I have never understood how I'm supposed to parse his combiner mode head. I'm always like, what am I looking at here?
Right? Yeah, me too.
Am I looking at a 3-headed camera with a hippo head, or am I looking at a lion with wings?
Sometimes it looks like he has a couple of really tall eyes at the top, depending on the
angle.
Yeah,
I saw that. There was an animation error where it looked like it was a giant eye.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to me it always seemed very ambiguous. It was like hard to place it, so it made him that much more menacing.
Yeah, and you can also place the animation error I'm talking about with how in Transformers the movie, how Sludge's eyes popped out of socket for a sec and Devastator smashed him.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I wonder if they just much like with Menasor there, if whatever reference materials they gave the animators.
He has the big guy himself. Do you have the Dark Energon one by any chance? The Dark Predaking?
Nope.
This is the Power of the Primes one, right? I think so.
When you get that chance, you gotta try and get the Dark Predaking because that thing's super good. The no doubt in mind, this one's good, but the Dark Predaking one's also a good one. If you ever see that thing, you can possibly get it off. Some people sell it for cheap for maybe $300, but I've seen it go high in box for like maybe 500 or maybe 700 even, like close to how much that trailer cost for Menasor.
With respect to
But
G1, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Magnus.
I was gonna say I don't see a problem with the head.
Yeah, well, it's.
Oh yeah.
It's just the way he's drawn sometimes.
Yes.
Totally right. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of those dinosaurs that have the horn crest like an Allosaurus. His forehead reminds me of that.
Also, the G1 toy also doesn't make sense. It's not just the cartoon; it's the toy itself.
Yeah. Well,
If you guys could pick out of, sorry, you were about to say something.
Yeah, I just put it again on what the animators and whatever reference material they were provided with. Probably, I mean, because they were definitely working with photography and not actual figures.
Mhm.
So I'm sure they were just like, I don't know what we're looking at either. Let's just draw something.
Yeah, they were given like a reference sheet, like just a front, like basically this image and like their alternate mode, and that's it. And then they got to make up the rest from there. That's why the back sides are always very plain and simple, because there's no reference images.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just looking at the ones that are the legs and the one that we see the face of on the one shoulder, and how their faces are all red in beast mode, and made me think of how in Beast Wars, the Tripedicus console, they're all shown as red, and how they're supposed to be descended from the G1 Predacons, and then also in the video game, mobile video game Forged to Fight, you can have Tantrum as a party member, and if you have him on the same team with any of the Predacons in the game, which are there's Scorpionox, Waspinator. I feel like there was I think it was just those two. Maybe the Maximals as well, but they'll get like a boost if you put them on the same team as Tantrum.
Yeah.
So this week I was contacted by a guy that was looking for a piece that I had for sale, and I didn't have it anymore. I had already sold it, and I told him that I knew of a store, the collector's mall over here, that had one there. And I would stop in and see if they still had it. Well, they didn't have it, and I just took a picture of the booth. And he was like, "Oh, what about that one? Could you grab that one, and I'll come by and pick it up?" Like that. And so I did pick this up, and Anthony, you'll like this.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, baby.
The big Predaking.
Speaking of like the Predacons,
wait till the price tag. Wait till the price tag comes down.
Oh.
$4. Oh wow, nice.
Buy it for that. I always heard that was a good figure. That's the only one that's
for
like
something like that goes for so much on eBay.
Yeah,
that's
like the only one
that's $80-$90 on eBay.
Yeah,
that's the only one. I told him what the
TV
price was, he was like,
show.
"Grab it!" I was like, "There's the other booth."
Yeah, I would die. I've been sad to see how cheap some of these transfers I've been wanting to go get. Basically, an auction on eBay I've been going for. Right now, I have my eyes on another record to add to my collection. I'm right now still trying to collect them all. And the Generation Selects Hot Shot, which is one of the records for the 58 of them. I recently found one of them on auction on eBay for $15, and it's only there's 22 hours left on it, and I'm gonna try and win it when it comes down to maybe the final hour.
Let me catch up.
Snipe it. Wait till 10 seconds.
Stream sniping at that point.
10 seconds, and Eddie, get that.
That's how I got my big lot. It was my very first auction win in a while. I got this lot that came with, Revenge of the Fallen Megatron complete, Dark of the Moon Megatron mostly complete. He was missing his cloak and his chain, but I had the third-party stuff for that. Then it came with the MP7 Bumblebee, the Volkswagen one. It came with my Jeep Bumblebee somewhere. I don't know where he went. It came with Dark of the Moon Soundwave, complete Jet Mode Shatter. It came with so many characters. It even came with a complete Bone Crusher, the Studio Series one, not the Nest Bone Crusher, the original.
Nice.
I was very lucky to win it because I was in a tight situation.
How much?
So with how it was going, basically, this person was trying to keep bidding in and in, basically, to beat me. Basically, my highest I was going was 40, but thankfully, I only had to pay up to $30. I was very lucky. And I did I looked up all the prices on Amazon and eBay. Like, if I wanted to try and buy all of these guys individually, eBay would be a little cheaper, but Amazon would be super expensive. I basically calculated the money, and I got my money's worth out of it.
Yeah.
None of them are for sale since I don't have duplicates of them. With me, I'll possibly never sell some of these guys until maybe I'm older, because these are my childhood things.
No, let's catch up on the comments. Professor D says, I love Stunticons, Aerobots, Protectobots, but my favorite combiner team is Starscream's Brigade. And RJ Eagle says, Arctic Camo Armada Bruticus was my favorite. They need a third-party redeco with that color scheme. And Toyworks G1 toy of a Predaking that weighs a ton. Mine is the die-cast version, which I die-cast as well. He was the heavier of all the combiner toys back
because
then.
He had all the accessories. He had like the wings, he had the guns, he had everything. He had more accessories than Bruticus or Devastator combined.
Yeah, he was much larger than all the other combiners, and he was the only one that was, as far as I remember, that had the two plastic version and die-cast version.
Beat all of them in general, unless you're counting Victorion. If she came into G1 with her victory saber, she could easily slice them all up into pancake slices at that point.
Seemingly, yeah, the most badass of all the combiners for sure.
Well, for all the G1 combiner toys, Devastator, the Constructicons were all the same size, but the Scramble City ones, basically the torso was the larger robot and the limbs were the smaller ones. But Predaking,
that's how they're going to play out A6 Devastator when they get them complete.
Cool. But then Devastator, Predaking, all of the Predacons were the same size. So that, like, each large character, combine them together, made him the larger combiner out of that original series.
Now, I've been looking at
all the images on Scrapper because I've been wondering how they're gonna do the combiner for Devastator, because Scrapper's the leader and he's like one of the biggest if you count long haul in the mixture. But I was questioning how are they gonna do his he's gonna have to be big, but then he's gonna have to transform into a very small vehicle. And I went through the math and the thoughts, and it's going to be the definition of a clown car, like how Ratchet said in Prime. It's going to be it's going to be a big toy, but it goes in a very small box.
Question to anybody that's handled the G1 version of these guys. Are they actually the same size as the G1 Dinobots, like the actual figures?
Yes, they are very much so.
About that. Maybe even a little bit bigger in some respects, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the scale they're specifically working at. And that's why the idea of a Dinobot combiner was sort of in the public consciousness a long time before they made one, because you had this other team that was also 5 and also the same scale and had swords and everything, but they could combine.
Yeah. Well, for sure, my closest visual memory of this is called the Primitives, where the Dinobots and the Predacons, they're all kind of team up and work together. So yeah, I definitely could see that. I was hoping they would combine too, actually, in that episode.
Yeah, I remember in Power of the Primes, you have Predaking and Volcanius. They fight in the swamp that they find Primal in with the Requiem blaster.
The blaster that good old Overlord decides to take from Perceptor.
Yeah, something like that. It's been a while since I watched it.
I recently discovered that they were all in the same show and connected. I honestly had zero clue that they all were. For me, when I was more of my younger age, this was when I discovered Power of the Primes. Back then, I didn't care, basically. I just wanted to get all the G1 characters. When I got Beachcomber, and I recently made I met some friends who were into Transformers, but not that much. They told me that there was a show of all of them. And then, when I was trying to collect Victorion, I was searching up reviews on them. I didn't see the show, basically. And then I remember seeing, the toys in general, like the Power of the Primes, Rodimus, and the Dark Rodimus, and everything. It was making sense on how they were all connected, basically. And I pitched the puzzle together and we'll searched up the show. Watched the
I
entire
never made
show
it to-
within 2 hours.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's
You're
a
more heroic
fun
than me.
show because you have that interesting fellowship of Megatron, Windblade, Perceptor.
So they kill all,
The
just like
Dinobot.
in Skybound, they killed them all off so easily.
Yeah, that did bother me. Like the combiners.
They killed Victorion for like sakes. Like I didn't expect her to die that easily. Primus just ripped off her arm and then followed by moitered her by ripping her head off.
Cruiser's
I
more
think they were trying to be in that Game of Thrones mindset. As like, oh, violence is good. We don't need to be cheerful at all.
Yeah, I felt that. I felt that during that time period. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Cruiser says that I'm guessing he's saying the Predacons were a bit bigger. As Professor D says, I think G1 Predacons are a fair bit bigger than the Dinobots, but Dinobots look much more premium. And Shiva Kobe says, my youngest bro got pieces of the combiners for Defensor and Menasor, but only break down First Aid and Blades. He wasn't interested in them for very long, so I ended up with them.
Is that enough to make a
Well, honestly, I know that the original,
Yeah.
Protectobots are cheap individually if you can get them without, well, the sun problems, basically. So maybe you could be lucky enough to get them at that time in, well, state.
It's possible. Well, I guess we didn't go over Predaking's motto of destroy first, ask questions later. Was the strength of 10 and intelligence of 5. Then
Well, maybe he. I think maybe Computron can at least be him in a spelling bee at least.
Someone's a fan of
While
Computron. I'm
losing
taking
his
it.
eyes and limbs.
as we switch over from
Are we now doing the Seacons, if I'm guessing?
not yet. We did,
I saw all the images, so I was questioning. Are we doing Computron next? I usually like to guess what's next.
but it's actually one that we missed, and I'm surprised I missed him because he's actually my favorite combiner is Defensor.
Yeah.
I can
Ooh,
find
right, I forgot about
Yeah.
Defensor. We've been
Yeah.
more talking about the Decepticon combiners, so I think it's time we go over the Autobots. And also, speaking of the Autobots, what I wanted to talk about, if you could pick any of the G1 Autobots, you have to pick, well, Optimus has to be the body. That's all you guys be, basically. If you could pick anybody to combine with Optimus, become, well, a big combiner, who would you pick? And you can combine combiners with him also.
Optimus Prime can't be the combiner.
But they did it for him, and not to mention they gave us a technically very first shot
For
of
the-
Nova Prime, except it was
for
just a
the-
repaint
for
of
the same-
Optimus.
For the same reason that Megatron can't be in the combiners.
Well, I'm at least happy they haven't done him yet. They've done Galvatron. They took. I don't get why they took Cyclonus and just made him Galvatron. That was the most wackiest thing I ever wondered.
Yeah, it was a strange choice.
Yeah, it was a very strange choice, in my honest opinion. And, well, with how Defensor looks from the G1 show, I honestly think they're going to do a good job when they give us the... Yeah, there's been talk about Studio Series, and what they're going to do is so after they complete the Osprey of, well, the 86 movie, they're going to go into the G1 series. And they're going to maybe redo some of the old Transformers that we got and maybe give us, well, G1 accurate stuff. And also there's talk about maybe them doing some cell-shaded ideas, since they did Optimus and Megs.
Cool. When Shiva Cody says, I still have First Aid Blades broke and Breakdown vanished into the ether. I ended up replacing him this past year with a second-hand G1 Breakdown. Defensor's motto, as long as one innocent being is threatened, none are truly free, with a strength of 10 and intelligence of 7. Which is higher than the rest of
Okay, so we'll have to agree that Defensor maybe could beat all of them in general, mainly all the combiners that are not Predaking, since Predaking could just mash them into, well, oblivion.
I have to bring it back to that whole Stan Lee idea where whoever the writer wants to win will win. and
Yeah,
you
I
could
love
just
that quote.
Yeah, it's just like Hasbro killing off everybody basically at that point. They will kill them off whether you like it or not. And you have to make up your own idea on if they survived or not. And also, fun fact, if you guys check out my YouTube channel, sooner or later I'll be starting a what if series in stop motion form on, well, all the things that could have happened and what shouldn't have happened. And my very first episode will be what if the Autobots did not die on the 86 shuttle attack.
That'd be cool. You know?
Yeah, RJ Eagle saying Defensor is the worst combiner. Just kidding. Just trying to get
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Russell, my
now
feathers.
that's gonna cause me to maybe bring out my army of wreckers to, well, maybe destroy that person and maybe find where he lives and, well, send old Springer with a minigun.
Like I said, I'm not really partial to combiners. Like, it's a little bit of a novelty for me, but Defensor seems to me like the most personable of any of the combiner teams. They had, I think, the most interaction with humans, and I'm thinking back to that Return of Optimus Prime
with
episode.
how, also one thing I do have to say, Defensor does not have that multiple, minds in him. He has a full-on calm, well, self-esteem. He can definitely take on anybody.
He seems like he's got it, more together than the other. The other combiners seem like destroy.
You remember the Autobots are workers, not warriors. So maybe that could be also a good placement into this.
Well, it's interesting because I mean, Defensor being my personal favorite because I did get him as a box set in, I believe, '86 for Christmas. Only years later, really reading into the tech specs, he's almost borderline the type of personality issues that Menasor has, because essentially Hotspot
has PTSD.
Hey guys, I gotta go. We're under tornado warning.
Okay.
Mr. Magnus, I have a good suggestion for you. Put a bunch of blankets and pillows and towels inside that transformer. Oh, never mind.
Oh, he might still hear you. He might still hear you.
Put a bunch of blankets and towels into that room right there and make sure none of those things break, because you're going to maybe need to sell them all if your house gets destroyed.
He's got that place insured. That is a part of the Mr. Magnus lore, so.
I'm happy I'm at least happy I wasn't near the tornado. I live in Pennsylvania, and if you haven't heard about the tornado that touched down the western part, I'm happy we weren't in the western part. I'm in the eastern.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of tornadoes, and we recently had a storm in more of the northern Ontario a few days ago. So it is slowly getting into that season. So,
and also what's weird is it touched down in Pennsylvania. Our area is not even definitioned for tornadoes.
Okay.
We'll get that tornado watch, but it never happens. Only a few times it did happen. It's very rare in our area to ever get a tornado. The last time a tornado maybe hit my area was maybe 1964, maybe, I think.
Oh,
that was the last time that's at least the last time I recall it ever hitting. Heads up, I'm not I'm not that old. I don't have the internal youth. I'm 13. I was born in 2011. So I'm not a part of that. I'm not a part of the eternal youth yet.
Yeah. That's where Vintage Review says his state is getting pounded today. They had to delay the Indy 500 due to storms and lightning. So I hope.
Crazy.
Oh yeah, fun fact: you can go into the eastern area of Pennsylvania. Whenever we get blue thunderclouds, we call them sideways lightning clouds, because the lightning will actually shoot sideways. Basically, it'll be like this definition. It's honestly a very cool sight to see.
Yeah, to me, because I've never really experienced a tornado living up in Ontario.
Well, hey, there's a thing called tornado simulators. If you ever find them in your local, GameStop, not GameStop, your local Fun Mart or something of the sort.
A tornado simulator.
Well, they have them in here. Whenever I go to my Get Our place, it's a trampoline park I like to go to on a daily. Right near the bathrooms, there's a hurricane/tornado simulator right beside it. You can put money into, and you can, it'll create rain, fog, tornado. It'll create the winds, basically. They could actually fly a little in. That's why they kind of have it bolt to the ground, and they give you a small suit when you go into it.
Well, Decepticon, I would say I'm surprisingly, I see, like within your area, you're fortunate that tornadoes haven't hit down there, because they they are common within I would say almost the areas between where you are to where I am.
Are you serious? Really?
Yep.
Never heard of
that. At least 6-7 years ago, and you can tell where there's a tornado. Like the sky is like, it could be like, a little bit cloudy. Within like 30 minutes, the sky goes completely dark, and
at that point, you're reliving moments of the movie Twister at that moment in time.
Wow.
Actually, if Michael or if Lottie was here, he would mention it, because one of those twisters that was about maybe 7-8 years ago was closer in his region. They're not as damaging as ones in the States, but still damaging enough where they can tear off roofs, like pick up a vehicle and throw them.
Oh, I want to hear something crazy.
Wow.
A few months ago, I'm talking maybe like after Christmas and everything. Well, let's just say my area experienced very severe winds. It actually caused tree bark to actually peel off of trees, and I'm talking like fully alive, good, old healing trees, basically. And it caused a few power poles, even right next to my dad's mom's house. We live very close to them. They live right next to Hardee's, and the Hardee's is like a pole basically. Because of the wind, it caused it to fly practically, and it hit a car, and then also a few places down, a house lost its roof.
Oh,
talk about not actual tornadoes. Talk about actual hurricane force winds causing things to fall.
Yeah,
I feel when something like that would happen, the Protectobots would be there to save the day.
Just about to say,
well, we talk about rescue bots. Maybe bring in the force field that Merlusky decided to think was a good idea to put in.
Force field.
Well,
tornado force field.
Yep. Protectobot. RJ Eagle says, I agree with Deceptikitty. The Protectobots have the least conflict in personalities. I think so. They gel very well together.
Yeah.
And maybe first.
And also, for all honesty and opinion, do you guys think Heatwave would make a better Hotspot than Hotspot himself?
No, you can't replace Hotspot.
Yeah.
Well, I've been thinking, honestly, what if the rescue bots, were to add, Blur and Salvage, and what if you, combine them all together to create, a combiner?
Then it would be
it honestly would be the remake of the rescue bots and the Protectobots, and also who thinks Blades would be better as a female than a male?
Blades, yeah.
And honestly, I think you could just maybe replace maybe Silverbolt's Fear of Heights and just give it to Blades. I think maybe everybody would be a little bit more happier together.
Well, Victorion's legs are both retooled from Combiner Wars Blades.
Yep.
So they did make
the first mold
they did make two girls out of Blades.
Yep. Technically, Blades never got female face. Basically, if anything, Victorion's the only female character that has female faces in general.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they maybe reused if they had Moonracer and Power of the Primes already started up. Maybe they took Moonracer's head sculpt and remolded it.
Well, RJ Eagle also said maybe First Aid has the most different personality from the others, and Toywork says can't replace Hotspot. He was voiced by Dan.
I don't know who that is.
Oh, really?
That's
yeah, he's
Bumblebee's
the voice
actor.
Yeah, awesome.
Oh,
yeah.
Wait a sec. So maybe can we just replace Hotspot with Blades? Maybe we don't need that. We don't need that good old helicopter, and we just have Heatwave, which is my sole favorite rescue bot out of all of them. If anything, it's going to be Chase besides him. For me, I'm the nature kid, so I'll take Boulder over any of them if I was stuck in a zombie apocalypse. Because of reasons I can make all these crazy what if stories on basically what could happen or sometimes happened.
Well, then go with some of the comments in terms and then when I was mentioning just before Mr. Magnus left, is the Protectobots are similar to the Stunticons in terms of their personalities, but
very true.
Realized that.
Back 1 second. I have my wisdom teeth removed, so I need an ice pack to put around my cheeks.
Okay, but I realized that Hotspot actually does a very good job keeping the team together. With that one exception when First Aid just decided he was done with fighting and left. But out of the 5 of them,
First Aid's a lover, not a fire.
and also groups. So essentially, out of the Protectobots, 2 of them don't want to fight. The other 3 are fighters, but they still work really well together, as opposed to Menasor, where they're just completely nuts because nobody likes each other.
And well,
They're the adults in the room. They put their differences aside and talk over their problems and reach a consensus.
Exactly it.
Well, you could also replace First Aid with, since he doesn't want to have fight, basically. You could, if Rook was a natural character in this time, you could replace him with First Aid since he is a swap vehicle.
I feel Ratchet is probably one of the most brave of the Transformers, being a medic and also
You definitely have to put
warrior.
that in, especially. One thing
And
we
I
do
feel
have
the
to say
same
is
way.
that he's very caring. Because if you remember in, I don't know if anybody saw this, but in the 86 movie, when he sees Ironhide get shot, he looks away, and that's how he died, basically.
Really?
Yeah, you can, if you, well, after we're done talking about these, and if you guys have a little bit of time, I have it pulled up, and, well, looking over the scenes and everything, I can show you exactly looks at him when he gets shot.
Cool.
Yeah, stick around,
definitely. Checks it.
Yeah, definitely. Stick around, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
It's time for me to head to bed, guys. Sorry, I gotta go then.
Oh, no worries, man. But thank you for jumping in again.
All right, I'll try and join you guys next week. The last time it was because I had to go sleep and all that. I'll see you guys next week.
All right, take care.
Hopefully I won't have this around me. It'll be the last time I see you guys because I'm going on a camp for a week, so I won't be back here. I'll be back here the next week after.
All right, cool.
Okay,
good luck.
Sounds good.
Children of Prime, I will see you guys around.
Take care. So Toywork Vintage Review says, I remember the original trailer from the 07 movie. It showed a helicopter that looked just like Blades. Was so pumped, thought we was going to get the Protectobots.
See, I thought I was going to get the Combaticons because, like, I say helicopter, I think Vortex, first of all.
Let's a few combiners left before we round up the evening.
Everybody has serious real life things that keep making them go away. Yeah, I'm waiting for the next guy to come up here.
Yeah, Protectobots are super brave. I feel they're definitely really awesome heavy Transformers, although like they may not be all fighters, but I think, being medics at the same time, I think that's really awesome.
A message from Mr. Magnus: we're all safe and in the main floor of the house, which is built in the ground.
Oh, well, that's good to know.
Very good.
Good.
Thank goodness your stuff is insured. Yeah. Something interesting about the way Marvel handled all of the combiners. They were all newly created Transformers, except for Predaking. In that series, a big plot device for a long time was the creation matrix that Optimus Prime had. And both Decepticons and Autobots stealing it and using it at different points. And, first the Constructicons and then the special teams were created brand new that way. So none of them had lives before Earth because they were all newly created, with the one exception being Predaking and the Predacons, who were called from Cybertron.
That occurs to me how brilliant that creation matrix MacGuffin was. When they introduced new toys, they could creation matrix created the combiners.
Yeah,
brilliant.
And it's sort of a new thing too, because Shockwave's whole initial plan in Marvel is that he's after it because he specifically wants to make new warriors, and that's not something that they've tried doing implicitly before.
That's right. Yeah.
And hey, if you buy that Marvel Shockwave they just put out with a little Optimus Prime head, that's exactly what it's referencing.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. If you would like a custom one, come visit our booth at TFCon this year.
It's easier than getting a repaint of Siege Shockwave.
Yeah.
We will be there at July 12th to 14th, I believe. 14th to
within that zone.
Within that weekend, we will be at the Toronto TFCon. And we've switched over to Abominus, who they don't give him and they don't give him a statement, which is Interesting.
It might be that was he one of the ones who never had a gift set? Because if he didn't have a gift set, he wouldn't have had a tech specs.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, I always thought it was weird how he had like two different origins in the cartoon. How he was like working for the Quintessons at one point, and then working for the Decepticons at another point.
Is that right? What episode was I working for the Quintessons?
The one where they were on Titan. Let me look it up here.
Yeah, and it almost the way how they said it in the episode, it almost sounded essentially the Quintessons created him.
Yeah. So the wiki article like lists their first appearances in Grimlock's New Brain, accompanying Galvatron and so forth, and then their next appearance was in Money Is Everything, where they were suddenly working for the Quintessons,
right?
For like no specified reason, and then they were back to be. Then their third appearance was Call of the Primitives, and they were back to working with the Decepticons again.
Yeah.
It's like implied narrative arc, or the cartoon just writing different episodes without talking to each other.
Yeah. I'm down with the implied narrative arc.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. We haven't talked too much about how Call of Primitives had that really great Studio Ox animation, and Abominus was one of the ones where I really liked his design in Call of the Primitives. And I always remember the bit of him combining his head popping out and how stylized and anime-esque it was.
Tell me more about this Studio Ox.
They designed an alternate version of the character models for a lot of the Transformers that were most often used in like the Japanese like TV magazine materials, and Call of the Primitives based its designs off of those instead of the normal Sunbow models, which is why it looks so different. Also, a different company did it.
Yeah, from what I understand, this is my digging in the memory banks, is that Toei used to outsource some of these episodes to smaller companies, and this is just like a regular thing they did. And I guess Studio Ox must have been one of these smaller companies. Most of the employees are students. Most of the animators are students. And I think they were Taiwan based or something like that. They were outside of Japan, from what I understand.
Yeah. You can see a lot of Studio Series Ox art if you look up anything like promotional from Generation 1 in Japan, like whenever they do all those paintings and things that showed up in the magazines and in catalogs and things. It was usually Studio Ox that did those.
Really? Very cool.
Yeah.
They didn't do any other episodes, did they?
No. I'm just looking up the article for Call of the Primitives here.
Because that was always like a long-running question. Like, why was this particular episode so different than the rest of them?
Right.
Yeah, it just no. I think it's sort of still a mystery. Just for some reason, this one was handled by a different company, and that different company happened to go a bit harder, and he also used the Studio Ox designs instead.
Oh, okay. Computron.
So we have Computron. Where his statement is complete data analysis is essential for the synthesis of successful strategy.
That's a bit much there, Computron.
Yep.
I see. I'm a little refreshed on this guy because there was just a Transformers: The Basics on the Technobots released like this week, I think.
Okay.
So like I just watched the episode on him, and it's funny how, as written by Bob Budiansky, Computron's thing of thinking everything over was supposed to be like his weakness because he would think about it and then not act. But I remember all of his appearances in the cartoon not playing it as a weakness. He just talked a lot before doing a thing.
Yep.
I see.
Well, his strength is 9, but his intelligence is 10.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't he like a 1988 release? Would Bob Budiansky still be writing the tech specs at this time?
Yeah. He was. He was writing the comic up until the Micromaster era, so he was writing the bios until at least that point.
Okay, yeah, that would have been 89, I suppose, right?
Yeah, the last issue he wrote is the one where the Micromasters got involved with professional wrestling, which was very silly, but also very fun.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
That was the final Budiansky book.
RJ Eagle says, yeah, the Call of the Primitives looked like a Gundam Japanese anime episode. Amazing art designs.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah. Tickle me in the right space, in the right places there.
Yep.
Yeah, I always oh, I'm gonna sneeze. Give me a second.
Bless you.
Oh, I liked how these guys. Oh, good, you muted me. I liked how these guys got to be the star of a bunch of episodes towards the end of the show's third season. They were like the main characters in Money Is Everything and stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah. Even though I'm sure like other combiners got more screen time, they felt like more like characters because they got to headline a couple episodes like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was unfortunate some of the characters, like the Abominus, the Predacons didn't get much front and center time as much as some of the other combiners.
I also believe Scattershot is the only one of these guys where his third mode did actually appear on the show, though it was only like one scene.
Yep, that did happen.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've gotten through most of our G1 combiners, and we're hitting a 10 o'clock hour, so I'm going to quickly run through one thing before we end the evening. And as I set it up,
I should have known. Top 20 combiners ranked by strength. I want to see what deep polls they do to get 20 of them.
Right.
Torwarp says exclamation marks.
Can I just so one of the images there is Monstructor, the pretender monster guy, as he appeared in the IDW comics. There was a weird push to have him constantly showing up as a bad guy in IDW for a while, to the point where there was an issue where Hardhead was involved in fighting him, and he was like, I'm so tired of fighting this guy. Like, he said that in the word bubbles.
Oh, wow.
And nobody's really sure why, because there wasn't a toy of him they were trying to plug. Somebody writing these just really wanted to make Monstructor a thing.
He did come out as a toy in the very late end of the G1 era. And it is just, and the thing is, like, you know, as a child or like teen back then, the later end of G1, the toys just seemed really cheap. And I remember when Monstructor came out, I was like, I'm not interested. He just, you know, compared to like all the other combiners and like the earlier Transformers, he just really seemed more like a gimmick at that point.
He's tiny too, apparently. I've never,
yeah, it was, that was the other thing. I'm like, this isn't a combiner. It's almost like, you know, the joke of combining the mini bots.
Yeah. Abominaticus? What in the hell are they talking about?
Here we go. Well, just before you get to that, RJ Eagle says, I never quite saw the individual personalities of Computron into individual bots. Were they all smart and made one smarter combiner, or just average intelligent bots? Would have to check the bios. And I think from the episode, it really played off that the individuals just seemed kind of average, but Computron himself was the super genius.
IDW did write them all as like as a science team, so that very much did factor into their characterization.
Okay. So,
Abominaticus. Oh, okay. This is one of those weirdos from modern stuff. The Generation Selects comic they did in Japan, like recently, to promote like Generation Select stuff.
Okay.
So I think this guy is just a Scramble City combination of a couple different robots.
I see.
Got it.
He's got a Stunticon arm and a Terracon arm.
So he's nuts.
Yeah.
So that's number 20.
What does it say? Yeah. Magnaboss was one of the few Beast Wars combiners. That's a That's a general statement of fact, yes. I don't know what makes him stronger than the other guy.
Mm-hmm.
Skyrain made Skylynx the center of attention. Okay, that was a cool one. Combiner Wars made Skylynx into the middle of a combiner team, and his limbs were all like G1 guys, like Wheeljack and Hound and stuff.
Wait. Combiner Wars? Oh, in the show. Okay, I'm like.
Well,
okay.
no. In the toy line, they did a Skylynx. He was a Voyager, and he could form a torso, and his limbs were made out of like Wheeljack, Hound, Trailbreaker, and someone else. Smokescreen, yeah.
Oh, dope.
That existed. That was a thing they made. Number 17, Abominus is a truly terrifying combiner. Tech specs average 64. Where are they getting these numbers from? That's something I want to know. Did the other two ones have tech specs averages?
Let's see. Abominus does have, Abominus does have tech specs, but he doesn't have, he didn't have a statement to go with it.
Yeah, probably because he only had a gift set in Japan and the bio was like less detailed.
You know what? But I bet you if you look at the Transformers Universe comics from Marvel, that he would have a code in there.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I'm going to challenge CBR on this one because they said his average is 64.
Yeah, what are they basing that on?
I guess the tech specs average numbers, but everyone averages out, right? That's the whole point.
Okay, I'm going to take too long with this, but I'm going to challenge and see if your numbers actually are correct here.
My dear Jess just passed me some cherry ice cream, so I guess I'm eating that now.
Yum. Yeah, Abominus was always very unique. Like he was like a monster transformer that kind of came out of nowhere. And like they're like demon, strange monsters at that. So it's like very interesting to have that in the Transformers universe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they didn't really have any real life basis. They were just like weird original creations.
Mm-hmm.
So if I realize the CBR has made another error, unless they've added these numbers a different style, but from the math that I've done, Abominus's tech spec average is 6.375.
Yeah, I was like, "Where's that high number coming from?"
Yeah, how did they get 64?
Yeah,
because even all together, with his G1 tech specs, adding everything up together only comes to 51.
Mm. Yeah. Show us the math. Where's it coming from?
Yeah, what is that number?
Oh, dear.
Defensor is meant to serve and protect. Tech specs average 75.
This is going to have to be another show.
Yeah.
And number 15.
Bruticus, the brutal warmongering combiner. Another 65 tech specs average. Wait, that's less than... How is he above Defensor?
Good job. CBR.
Raiden is a Japanese exclusive combiner. Yes, that is a general statement of fact. What is the purpose of that headline?
You know, the purpose is, as Toy Warp says, it's that common core math.
What's his? Did he have an average? What was his average?
68.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So at least we're going upwards again.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to find out where did Dave come up with this 68.
Superion is the highest flying of the Autobot combiners. Tech specs average 76.
It's the highest flying of Autobot combiners. What kind of statement is that?
Yeah. High flyers.
They're high flyers.
Menasor lives life on the edge.
Wait, I'm sorry. Superion has the high ground. That's why.
That's right.
Tech specs average 66. Again, it's going downwards.
What?
Oh, this is comedy.
Omega Supreme is theoretically a combiner.
What?
No.
No.
Like, I understand that it's debatable sometimes, but I think everyone can agree there has to be more than one guy in there at least.
And text average 77. You know, if they're going to call Omega Supreme a combiner, there's one other G1 character that hopefully they've mentioned, because people have said that they're also a combiner. But let's see if that gets mentioned.
Monstructor is the Decepticon's most monstrous combiner, and we're back down to 68. And for some reason, he showed up a ton in IDW.
Right, I guess that's why you made this list then.
Yeah. Computron is a logical Autobot combiner. Tech specs average 78.
It's a logical explanation.
8. Wait, what? Okay. Volcaticon adds prehistoric might to the Technobots. Okay, that's another Generation Selects thing. In fact, they just mentioned this in the Basics episode. This was kind of a cool idea. The Technobot limbs combined with Grimlock to fight alongside him, because he had gone rogue, and the Technobots are like, that's our dad, we're on his side. So they combined with him. That's
a cool concept.
Yeah. Don't know. Tech specs average unknown. Yeah, because there was no tech specs. They made it up for that manga. Piranacon is a deep sea Decepticon combiner. 73. The one interesting thing about him was he was one of the main bad guys in Master Force, and to bulk up their forces, only Snaptrap, the team leader, was a normal transformer. All the arms and legs were endless drone warriors, so there was like a lot of them.
Yeah, right. That was strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I overlooked mentioning Piranacon, because I got him, I believe it was 87. He's the only combiner who's also a target master.
Yeah.
Cool. A friend of mine who was sorry.
No, I was just going to say, the U.S. comics, they were actual proper characters. It's only in Japan where it was only the leader that was. And his combined form was just like a super mode for Snaptrap instead of like a melding of the minds, basically.
Got it.
Because just like, come to me, any 6 limbs. Let me make a bigger version of myself.
Well, in the tech spec for Piranacon, it's written that either in the tech spec or in the bio, but it's written that there is a timer installed in Piranacon's brain that after a certain time frame he disassembles, or he will not disassemble and just continue to wreak havoc on anything around him.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't recall that in any fiction.
Yeah, I think it may have been in the earlier comics when they were doing the bios, like in the later part of the series.
6. Victorion is one of the few female Transformer combiners. I've talked about her. I wonder if they'll mention the other one here. If not, I'll explain who it is. There's at least 2 of them. Leo Kaiser hailed from the Transformers Victory anime. Yeah, he was a cool combiner. They sort of did an update of him during Combiner Wars, but like not really.
Okay.
His tech specs average is 75.
Actually, did they mention unknown?
Unknown.
Of course.
If they don't have a G1 bio, they're not pulling from anything.
Yep.
There we go.
Why didn't they just make one up like they made the rest of them up?
Exactly.
Yeah. Volcanicus is the combined form of the Dinobots. Tech specs average unknown. Cool idea. A very recent thing.
And number 3, Predaking roars louder than any combiner transformer.
Does he? But why is his tech specs average only 74 then?
I mean, if Predaking falls in the forest.
Predicus is far stronger than Magnaboss. I mean, sure. Tech specs average unknown. Okay, so that's the other Beast Wars combiner. Magnaboss was the good one. Predaking was the other one. When they did a BotCon set where they brought him back, they had to retool Combiner Wars stuff, so they had to make him out of 5 guys instead of 3 guys. So they added Ravage and Tarantulas to it and dropped the Tri from it and just called him Predaking.
Okay.
I hear it's a good figure, just, it's a BotCon thing, so good luck finding it for less than like $700.
Yeah, for real.
Well, let's see.
By the way, the comic it came with was notoriously very bad, so maybe he's stronger than Magnaboss, but his story isn't.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to grouse. It was a Beast Wars prequel that misunderstood a lot of how Beast Wars worked continuity-wise and just made tons of mistakes. It was like how people complain about the Star Wars prequels changing a bunch of stuff. It was one of those.
Got it.
Are you going to predict this is going to be Devastator?
Yeah, I feel like it. If only because he hasn't come up. What? Okay. Optimus Maximus lights the Autobots' darkest hour. The expected which unknown. Okay, that's the Combiner Wars figure they did with Optimus Prime at the center of it. It's Optimus, Hot Rod, Sunstreaker, Ironhide, Prowl, and Mirage.
It's funny they don't list Hot Rod. They list everyone else except for Hot Rod.
Yeah, what the heck is that? I don't know. Okay. To be fair, in the comic he appeared in, they didn't put Hot Rod in. It was just the toys that could do that. You can see in the image there, Hot Rod sort of forms the chest plate. You can see like the yellow spoiler and everything.
I see it.
And they just left Hot Rod's rollout in the Combiner Wars comic series. But yeah, it's really weird. They would say that's the strongest one, I guess. I mean, I guess because Optimus Prime's a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it's they contradict themselves in their own article because tech spec average unknown. How do you know where to rank it if it's unknown then?
Yeah.
Why are the unknown ones not even the top ones? Back in the day, some of the strongest people in Beast Wars, their tech specs would be question marks because they were so powerful. We didn't know what the numbers were. They're not even doing that here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I think I know why they did that.
I will say, at least they didn't try to put Devastator as number 1, because we've already talked about how he sort of gets his butt kicked on like a regular basis.
I was thinking, for sure they're gonna be like, oh, everyone knows Devastator. Let's just put him as number 1 just for the sake of. But there was no mention of him.
Yeah, it's weird that they wouldn't mention him at all, even.
Yeah.
By the way, the other female combiner team that I know of is they did do one of Elita 1 and the female Autobots, and the combined form was called Orthia.
Oh.
Yeah, it took them a while to release that because they did a few of them in Power of the Primes, and then they did the missing people in like Siege.
Okay. Well, as we had after 10 p.m. Eastern time, and we're going to round up for the evening. We thank everyone in the comments, and for everyone watching after, post in the comments who your favorite combiner is and why. And like the video, share it to other people, subscribe to the channel. And as I throw it over to you guys, what do we have upcoming in the next few weeks?
Well, I finished my photo shoot for Legacy Silverbolt, so that'll be coming out probably at the end of the week. Last Beast Wars update for a while, if we believe the links, which kind of makes me sad, but it's a pretty good note to go out on. It's a pretty solid figure, but you'll read more about it once my article's up. That'll be on childrenofprimus.com under the news and reviews section, as per usual. Toy Warp will return.
Great.
It's like
feeling better.
Yeah. Yes, they do get better for next week. And Eagle says, and Devastator got his butt kicked in the Skybound comic 2 in the most recent episode.
Yeah, but unlike that was really cool. a lot of things that happened in Skybound. I won't talk about it, but
Please, yeah, thanks.
It's really
I'm
cool.
sure.
Everybody should read that.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. And Decepticitty, what are you working on for the upcoming TFCon?
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, so TFCon is around the corner. I know there's always a big crunch just before TFCon, so I don't want to feel it so hard this year. I got a lot of other things going on. So yeah, I got some things started. So been working on that Mystery of Convoy game so that we can have a playable demo at the con. It's a 2-player game. So this weekend I spent some time making a 2-player adapter for our gaming console. Right. And I'll be doing some more 3D printing because I got that whole gear set up again after my renovations. So yeah, this week a lot of 3D printing along with general work and stuff. Walking the cat, daily living.
Cool. And Archie Eagle says that Silverbolt is tough to find as well. I need him. Looking forward to the review. And that is it. And again, I thank you guys for taking your time to join us. Thank everyone in the comments that joins us every week, and also our
thank you everyone.
New members like Impactor, who's jumped on the last couple of weeks, and always cool having him on. Everyone else that's on when they have a chance to. Sheila Kobe says, "Cheers, gang!" And
cheers.
Mr. Magnus is going to be at a convention in Kentucky in June, I believe the second weekend in June. Shiva Kobe also says, I got my eyes on the prize. And we're going to be at TFCon, I believe that's the second weekend of July in Toronto. So check us out then, as we're going to do another live stream from there. And again, thank you to everyone. Like our video, subscribe to our channel, and also support us through patreon.childrenofprimus.com. And until next week, until all are one.
Until all are combined.
Yeah, so